Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So, today we're going to talk about Minneapolis and decrees and the report and what it all means. So, starting off the news, what occurred? A 2-year probe basically determined that the bad apple spoiled the bunch. The feds were looking into the police department there. It started in the wake of Floyd and what happened there. They started looking into it. They chose a period the way they normally do this. I want to say it was from January of 2016 to sometime in 2022, and they just reviewed everything, and they came to some conclusions. Short version of the conclusions is that basically everything that every single marginalized group in that city said about the cops was true. If you want to sum it up in a sentence, that's the sentence. Okay, so they found systemic discrimination of racial minorities. Okay, they found excessive force. They found unjustified use of lethal force. They found violations of constitutionally protected speech. They found all kinds of things. It appears that the favorite targets of the department there were Black Americans, Native Americans, and Americans with behavioral health issues. Those were the most affected by the behavior of this department. One of the things that jumped out at me, and this is to be clear, there's a lot of stuff in this report. So if this is a topic that you're interested in, there's no way I can detail it all in a video like this. Either read the report or read like an AP summary of it or something like that. But one of the things that really caught my eye was that during this period, they used the type of, quote, restraint they used on Floyd a couple hundred times. That's bad. That's really bad. But it gets worse. In more than 40 of those cases, it was in a situation in which an arrest was not required. That's not law enforcement. That's just harming the citizens. Okay, so what happens from here? The city and the police department have entered into a consent decree. What does this mean? It means that the feds basically oversee everything now and will for years to come. During this period, the feds will mandate reforms. They will say you have to meet these benchmarks by this point in time. You have to do a whole bunch of different retraining. You have to institute certain policies, so on and so forth. The obvious question is, do consent decrees work? And the answer, like many things, is it depends. It depends. It's a mixed bag. Sometimes it's pretty effective. Sometimes it's not. I don't have any data to back up what I'm about to say, but on observation, it appears that the deciding factor in whether or not this is actually something that works is the willingness of the leadership in the department to say, hey, you don't work here anymore. That's what alters the culture. And it may alter it more than the policy changes. Again, the saying is that a few bad apples spoils the bunch. Throwing out the bad apples as quickly as possible is what matters. And when you have a situation where it is this widespread, it's not a few bad apples, it's a whole orchard So another question that always comes up is what happens to those who engaged in illegal behavior during the review period or violated policy during the review period? The answer there, again, is it depends. Sometimes they're charged. That does happen at times, depending on how much time has passed, whether or not there's more evidence to go along. And one thing that seems to be a deciding factor there is, do they have a really strong case on something and then a whole bunch of other issues with this officer? And then in other cases, they don't pursue it. It's made like in any... The decision is made the same way any prosecutorial decision is made. It really depends on the strength of it. I have a feeling, based on how widespread it appears from the report, there will probably be some. How much? There's no way to know. This is not the end of the fallout from George Floyd. It's the beginning of the actual corrections, or at least the attempt to make corrections. You know, a lot of people want closure. That's not coming, not anytime soon. Because what happened there, and certainly what was uncovered in this probe, is going to, it's going to have echoes for years to come. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.